Hi everyone, Michelle here at Serendipity House in New Hampshire. Today I have a cute little table. I hope it looks worn and well loved. And I used the Iron Orchid Designs paint inlay called Ditsy Bloom. This is 8 sheets, 12 by 16 inches. And there are 1 or 2 of each design. Now, you know I always do furniture. So these paint inlays that don't have like 4 or 8 of the same thing are much more challenging for me. I'm going to show you how I created the design, how I created texture, and hid that line that you sometimes can see. This video is part of a collaboration, and there is a link where you can find a whole playlist of other artists who used the Iron Orchid Designs Summer 2025 release. You can find the full line of Iron Orchid Designs as well as DIY paint and lots of other things on my website, serendipity.house, or please come and visit me in Spofford, New Hampshire. Happy creating. I painted this little table with DIY paint, kissing booth, followed by cowgirl coral. I didn't record it because it wasn't what I originally was going to use this paint inlay on. So here I'm sanding with some 220 paper and a wet cloth for a nice soft distress. So the two things I did record prepping, because I was originally going to use Ditsy Blooms on this ladder, see, already, as well as possibly that rough bench over there. But I changed my mind, as I often do. Now I need to decide which design I'm going to use on top and then possibly the bottom of my table. Remember to trim the extra bit of paper off your paint inlay so you can put them right up to one another to make a continuous design. I always kind of dry fit my paint inlay, meaning turn them upside down the way you're going to lay them, so I know exactly how they're going to fit once my paint is applied. I'm using DIY paint, Petticoat Pink. When you do yours, apply it thicker. I'll show you why in a little bit. Apply the paint inlay, pigment side down into the wet paint. On the second sheet, you want to kind of get on top of it and overlap just a hair so it creates one seamless design. Use a damp towel to pat down the paint inlay. You could also use a brayer. You just want to make sure your ink touches the surface to embed into the paint. One reason I think the DIY paint is the best option with the Iron Orchid Designs paint inlays is that I can leave my paint inlay on my paint as long as I need to. As soon as I dampen it with water, the paint inlay sheet is going to release beautifully. And there is no other paint you can do that with. So when you're ready, grab a spray bottle, dampen your paper, and gently remove the paper. It is so satisfying. On the bottom of the table, I decided just to do the outer rim. Here's a tip. Only press into the design. So you're putting the pigments into the paint. Don't go all the way to the edge of the paper, or you could get a line there that's visible later because you're changing the texture of your surface. Another great technique to combine with the paint inlays is frottage. You can find some more videos on this from a couple years ago on my YouTube channel where I did this on a pair of nightstands. Basically, you're applying paint and you're removing it with paper. I use the paper that comes in between all of the paint inlay sheets right in my package. They work beautifully. Now I'm going to layer a little more of the underneath colors over the top just to create some more depth. I use either the paper from the paint inlay package or saran wrap. Both work great. Just make sure you don't have too much paint. It will help create depth and help you disguise areas if your paint inlay smudges or if it doesn't release as much pigment as you hoped it would. This brings us back to the beginning of the video when I said use more paint than I do. One benefit of recording is I can go back and troubleshoot. What did I do wrong? Well, I definitely laid my paint way too thin on the top, and there really wasn't much for my pigment to sit into. I could have reapplied what was left on the sheet. There was plenty of pigments, but I decided just to go with it. I'm doing a light spray coat of a matte sealer to lock in my pigments and then sealing the whole piece with DIY paint clear wax. This will ready it for my dark wax that I'll use in all the little nooks and crannies and edges and creases to really age my piece. Just look at that texture. I really, really love how you can make the paint inlays and the DIY paint combo look like an old, worn, loved piece that was at Grandma's house. So many colors, so many layers, and I think it looks naturally worn and not freshly painted.